Hey folks, and welcome to another daily update. So, today we started off with a bunch of still lifes and a good bit of practice on shading actually. I went back to the whole kind of shapes within shapes kind of thing, where you draw like circles and squares and triangles interacting with one another, and then use different lighting sources and try and shade in the lighting and texture a little bit, as well as kind of trying to blend it out into better textures. So I spent a good bit of time on that today, about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, just using it as a warm-up tactic, before moving on to then doing my quick sketch sheets of character poses. I did I'd say about 10 sheets of character poses today. As you can see in front of you, this is one of them. That didn't make the cut, but I wanted to show it just to kind of give an idea of what the general gist of these pages are. Again, things are getting a bit cleaner. I think I've kind of nailed the way I want to kind of continue forward when it comes to this particular phase. I want it to be kind of similar to the character in the far left, a little bit sketchy, a little bit not as much as a defined line, because I think it just looks a bit better. I think it looks a bit more fluidy, especially when doing it on a graphics tablet. You don't really need to be 100% precise, and even in a sketchbook, if you're just using a blue coloring pencil or a red coloring pencil, and then you're going to use a pen to go over it, you don't need to be 100% perfect with your line. And I know a lot of people out there will say, well, you need to be trying to get each line you put on the page to be the actual line you want to keep. Yes, to a degree, but also no. I've heard many people say very different things. One group will say every line needs to be very specific and you don't put a line on the page that you don't want to keep. And then the other side will be like, no, you just sketch it out loosely and just get what you want on the page and then refine it later. For me, I kind of like to take the middle ground. I like to try and get each line I put down to be the one that I want, but I don't worry too much about it. You can kind of see that difference between the two characters on the left. The woman is very much more of a heavier line, where I've tried to be a bit more clean, I suppose, with placing the pencil lines, whereas the figure on the left, the male, is very much a very sketchy, very quick. I kind of prefer the one on the left, even though there's more lines to it. It's messier. It looks a bit better. It doesn't look as... I think it helps towards this not being too stiff. I think that's the main thing I like a lot about it. What else to say about this page? Again, these pages are predominantly just characters, but sometimes they branch out into weirder things. The ant on the right, kind of an idea for a online webcomic I'm thinking of doing, where the main character will be something similar to that. I won't say too much about it just in case I decide to go with it. But yeah, I got sick of drawing humans and was like, hey, just stick an ant head on it, it'll be fine. And then try to give it more dynamic, such as the pose in the middle, down at the bottom. Again, not worrying too much about getting a classical or fine art approach, where you're trying to get everything very precise. It's more just trying to get the motion and the fluidity into the pose. And then worrying about your perfect lines in the inking phase, I suppose, is predominantly where I think I'm going with my process anyway. Moving on from this, the two characters on the left of this page, I decided to ink, which you can see here. I was quite happy at how this one turned out, actually. It's my first real attempt at trying to get clothes to work. And I think the clothes came out okay. There's a fair few issues. I've been trying to really think about where the clothes will be pulled, and whether being pulled by the fabric itself, the stitching, or being pulled by gravity and the weight, and especially where clothes tuck. So we kind of give and pull kind of approach to trying to think about how fabric is actually wrapped around the body. I don't think I definitely didn't get it off 100%. There's a lot wrong with it, but I think for a first kind of delve into trying to figure out how folds work on the human form it's not bad. I think they're okay. I think definitely there's an awful lot of improvement to be made, but I think it's getting there. The top on the woman on the right, I think, came out pretty well. The folds in the sleeves and the creases in the actual arms, I think, came out well. I'm finding belts are pretty difficult to think about, actually, how they pull in the trousers onto the hips, but yet trying to do it in a way it doesn't lose the form of the hip. Like for her, she's kind of very much rounded on the sides, which kind of takes away from the anatomy a little bit. But again, this is going to take a lot of time to try and wrap my head around it, but I'm starting to think now about not just doing the blank dummy. I'm now thinking about actually adding in clothes, adding in items, adding in weapons, things like that, and really trying to push the boat a good bit. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it goes somewhere decent. And then finally, I did these two sketches, one on the right being 4 minutes and one on the left being 2 minutes. They came out really well, I think, for very, very quick ink sketches. I just kind of turned my brain off and just went with it, which, weirdly enough, I seem to be able to produce stuff that's decent pretty quickly if I just stop thinking about it. I think I'm still getting stuck in the usual rut of overthinking things way too much. I just need to kind of stop my mind from thinking and just draw and try to improve gradually without worrying too much about the fact that, this didn't come out 100%, or there's an issue here or there's an issue there. Just accept the issues, figure out what they are, and then move on to the next one. It's a process. It takes time. But I think today's been good. I think, I'm gonna have to delve further into clothes, and but I think for a first attempt, it's looking okay. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If there is anything you want me to change about this format, please let me know. And other than that, have a fantastic day and a better tomorrow, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's update. Cheers.